Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be reacting to truth about living in Germany, and I've done a reaction to geography in Germany. And guys, Germany is really an interesting place. I obviously wish living one day, so I'm going to be reacting to this today, and I'm going to be starting a series here on the channel about Germany and probably some other countries. I'd love you guys to join me in this wonderful journey because I think it's gonna be so much fun and really interesting, guys. So let's dive into this reaction for today. But if you're new to the channel, I am Stella. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please consider liking, subscribing, turn on that notification button to get notified anytime I post a video. And let's dive into this reaction for today, guys.
So when I landed in Germany, I remember the first thing that was kind of a shock was hopping on a train. I had never been on a train. Now it seems really normal, but I hopped on a train, went through the beautiful countrysides of Germany down to a little city called Marana. And I remember being kind of shocked at how small it was and that we had a car. And then there were little tiny things that were shocking to me. I mean, just for the fun of saying what they were, there was like a light switch. They're not like switches, they're kind of like pads. So you hit a whole entire pad. Or the pillows, they're not rectangle, they're squares. And they're windows, they don't open up and down or side to side. They tip in and out, and they open kind of like a door.
Oh guys, like this is absolutely like, it's a bit new. Like you'd be like, wow, so something like this exists. Well, I could relate to that, guys.
So there's a lot of little differences like that. They have, I mean, our apartment had our washer and dryer in the kitchen. And then I thought that was just our apartment, and then I realized a lot of apartments are like that. So those were little tiny things, but nothing big. My favorite food in Germany is just schnitzel and rotkohl. Rotkohl is just red cabbage, and they would have Klöße. So that's basically, it looks like a potato, but it's not. It's just a dumpling. I guess that's what it is in English. And that was my favorite, was when we just had schnitzel, rotkohl, and Klöße. I also really liked Rouladen, which was just meat rolled up in, and they'd marinate it, and it just tasted really good. I liked their meat, simply said. I really learned to like red cabbage, which I disliked. I also liked sauerkraut. Didn't like that either. So, but by the end, I pretty much liked anything they put in front of me. The weather in Germany is similar to here in Utah. I mean, the hots are a little bit hotter and the colds are a little bit colder due to the humidity. I really like their traditions that revolve around music and the traditions that revolve around Christmas. They start Christmas at the very beginning of December, and they have the Advent site, which is the time of the Advent, and they have these Advent calendars, and they have Advent wreaths, and they celebrate each Sunday prior to the Christmas morning. And that's a tradition that I would want to hold up for the rest of my life with my family. And another tradition that I found interesting was they open their gifts on Christmas Eve, which is interesting to me. I always thought you do it Christmas morning, but Germans are a little bit different that way. Let's see, another cultural thing about Germany is the public transportation. So you don't see as many cars in cities, and the roads aren't very wide because they all take public transportation. It was interesting because I spent majority on the east side, which was under communist rule, where the DDR was these last not too long ago. And so we met a lot of people who were communists. I never thought that I would become friends with a bunch of communists. It just never crossed my mind as an American, but it ended up being wonderful. I had a lot of friends that had a lot of different political views that I had never really viewed before. I learned to respect other people's opinions a lot more, to not be so hasty to judging. And I realized that the ideals of communism can be appealing. I mean, maybe I shouldn't categorize them all as communists. A lot of them were just socialists and had more of those communistic ideals. But it was still an eye-opener to me when I started making friends with people with other political perspectives. If you're wanting to learn German, the key to speaking any language, I think, is just speaking it constantly. And you can do it. I didn't think I was going to be able to learn a language, but I got a lot of support from my siblings who would write me letters saying, oh, you can try something more like this, try something like that. For example, my sister, she plays the piano, so she kept telling me to continue to study and memorize the charts of the German language, which tell you der, die, and das, so the masculine, feminine, and neuter. cases and when it's going to be nominative, dative, genitive, things like that. And you memorize these endings, and she compared those to a scale, like when you're learning the piano. And so she said, just keep memorizing those, and that proved to be really beneficial. Also, in learning German, the first thing I learned is was bedeutet. So what does this word mean? So you'd say was bedeutet house, and then they'd say in English house, so that makes it so you can continue a conversation just by asking somebody what does that word mean, and then they can answer that. And then the second sentence I learned was wie sagt man. Wie sagt man means how do you say tree? So wie sagt man tree, and then they'd say Baum. So those two sentences were the first things I learned in German. And then from there, if you're stranded on the street and you have to speak, you can always struggle to put a sentence together. But really, in the end, learning the language wasn't the issue. After about 4 months, it was no longer an issue. I just woke up, studied the language, and it just came pretty naturally.
It was pretty good at learning language. Its first point was like, I actually did not know what it feels like to travel with guys, and I think I'm guilty of that as well. So he said so many things about the food different, cultural different, like the Christmas and all of that. I know it to be like a real surprise to him, like wow, never imagined things like this. And for the language, I was really interested in how he learns his language, because he was really fast in learning language. Like in 4 months he could speak really good. That is really excellent, and how to speak, because I've been in a scenario when I traveled to a different state in my country and I could not communicate. I was just like, I was pointing and all of the stuff. I could not communicate very well until to meet someone who could speak the language and could understand English as well, guys. So I can relate to that. You just have to learn the language just in case you're stranded or you need help in any way. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching to this time. Do make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in my next one.